Hello, hello. Welcome to EDUT 523. My name is Bill Selleck, he, him. I will be your instructor for the next 8 weeks. And for some of you, I've been your instructor for not the last 8 weeks, not summer one, at some point previously. So, tiny bit about me, a little bit about our course. I'll give you a very broad overview of kind of what each week is and what each assignment is. Make sure you know all the must-haves. And then you're going to go and watch the week one video where I'll dive more into week one. It also occurs to me that waiting till the hottest part of the day is not the greatest time to be making a video. I was just outside. Do you see it over my shoulder? We have a new, nope, I'm not mirrored. Right there. Here, I can squish it. Right there. It is a new rack mounted mixer, a digital mixer. And that whole thing is a mixer. Um, I just spent between meetings and interviewing potential teachers for our school. Was pulling cables underneath the stage. We have one house. Maybe at some point I'll make a video for you showing you our village. It's where we have our all school assemblies at Hillbrook School. Um, I was pulling cables underneath, getting it from a pole to, we have one room that some students built, kind of a playhouse, but think of like a big playhouse that you could actually like record a podcast in. We had some students actually build one of those, and we have like four other kind of village houses from our school just hit 90 years this last year. So from like 75 years ago, from the 40s. One of them has a door that locks. So we're putting that new mixer right over there into that. And then we just figured out that we have conduit. And so I was pulling cables for that. Nearly all of my job as we transitioned into a bit about me as director of technology at Hillbrook School is sitting at a desk, emailing and coordinating and directing all of the technology. um, at Hillbrook School, we are a junior kindergartner, like a TK, through 11th grade school. 3 years ago, we started a high school. It was just ninth grade. This past year is ninth and 10th grade. This coming year, 9, 10, and 11. And then one more year, we'll have our first graduating class. So we are building a new building. And I'm getting things like text messages at 10 p.m. last night about um, all kinds of stuff at the new building and people who are near the new building that shouldn't be at the new building. Anyway, all that stuff. Very exciting stuff. Our school is a pretty progressive, independent school. My office here is in Los Gatos, kind of at the base of the Santa Cruz Mountains. And then our high school campus is in downtown San Jose, about a mile east of the airport. And so, yeah, I'll talk more about that as time goes along. This is my 11th year at Hillbrook. Before I was here, I was teaching kindergarten, second grade, and then fourth and fifth grade music. I have three kids that all go here that will all be in the other half of campus for the first time, grades 5, 7, and 8. We have a little creek that goes through campus, and they're across the bridge, which kind of breaks my brain. Um, so this course, it's a revamp. So if I start talking about other things or I'm like looking at the thing as I'm talking to you, that's because this is all new. I'm super excited about it. We've been working on this for a little over a year for this whole refresh. Um, the title of it now that needed like board approval is Innovative Approaches to Online Teaching. And it keeps the core of what it was, where it's around human-centered design principles. That used to be the entire course. And we broaden it out now to also include media literacy, digital citizenship, and meaningful AI integration. This is possibly my favorite course to teach because it's going to be a little bit different each time. I used to teach a course like this about 13 years ago, and I remember one of my grad student groups did a whole project on Google Wave, and they're like, "Is this the future of education?" And they like typed on Google Wave for their presentation. It was amazing. And the answer is no. Google Wave is now gone. You can pause and Google that if you want. Um, but it's just like so exciting. Like I remember when the iPad was announced, we're like, I think we might be able to use these in education and talked about it. And so it's going to have hopefully a similar energy. Where we can talk about like the latest and greatest. Like just now, Midjourney, the AI text to image creation that tends to have a very like kind of cosmic feel or kind of like fantasy images are done with Midjourney. They just announced today, and so for you last Wednesday, I'm recording this on Wednesday. Uh, Text to video, or actually image to video. So you go use Midjourney for text to image, And then there's a button that goes image to video, and then it can generate image or movies and videos for you, which is pretty incredible. So little things like that are going to pop up, and we'll see what we see. So let me go a little bit week by week to give you a feel for it. There's two big parts of this course, the first 4 weeks and the second 4 weeks. The first part is about critical creation and consumption. So it's more about like all this information, how we filter it with students and how we filter it kind of ourselves. Clearly, this is where we get to media literacy. I'm also, I forgot to mention, on the board of NAMely, the National Association of Media Literacy Education, and I'm co-chairing their annual conference that perhaps you will go to. It's going to be good stuff. It's in mid-July. Although you're learning a ton already, I get it, but it's going to be good stuff for sure. So week one is like a similar kind of week one thing. Um, it also talks about part one is around like cognitive load and multimedia learning. And so giving your students just enough, which is why I'm going to try and not go deep into the next 7 weeks, just like kind of get a flavor of what all these are going to be. Week two is around creating multimedia lessons, but again, it's about that cognitive load. So it's around the title of it is cognitive friendly multimedia lessons. Week three, we go deep into media literacy and AI, artificial intelligence. Week four is looking at spotting fallacies in digital media, which takes on a whole new flavor now that AI generated content is so easy to make. And at this point, it is the worst you will ever see. So this is only going to get more profound of a thing to wrestle with as educators with students. So week five is the beginning of part two. So part two is actually designing with intelligence, and so it's kind of, if you think of part one as kind of like filtering out and consuming things and looking and being critical about what you're seeing with your students. Part two is going to be designing and making. You're going to be making all 8 weeks, but part two is really focused on creating stuff. So week six, you're going to be taking data and create with data. Week seven is using generative tools like generative text, generative imagery, and generative video at this point, and co-creating with it. So it's not just you as the human that is creating all the things. You're using these generative AI tools to help you create as an educator. And then week eight is going to be designing. It's actually called an AI companion. I'll talk about that in the assignment using is it with Poe or was that a different one? See, this is where it gets new. Uh, no, it is with Poe. So you're going to create a custom prompt bot in week eight and actually create, where'd my tab go? Actually creating a bot that can help you identify what your students are creating. So that's an overview of kind of the course. Um, as far as this entire course goes, as with all courses, please review the syllabus, review the APA guide that we're using, look at in that start here, which is where the video is embedded, look at how we use Google Drive, Microsoft Office, all of those things. Keep in mind that you also have all kinds of really good resources for you. If we go back to the home, if you're looking at like student support services, that's a tab you don't want to just jump over. Lots of great library resources, technology resources. The Writing Studio is incredible. You can definitely use that as a resource to get some tailored for you human feedback. We'll also talk about that later on as we go through. Also, just make sure you're looking at things like academic honesty, plagiarism, how that fits in with the AI policy, and just looking at all of the protocols and systems we have in place as a school of education. Very quickly, case studies. You're going to go through four different assignments, which are called case studies. So the first one is called Engage by Design. And so in this first assignment, you're going to create an instructional video, just about a minute, certainly no more than 3 minutes, to spark your students' curiosity. Um, You've perhaps heard, if you've had the instructor, Dr. Ramsey Masalam, talk about that creativity spark. That was his TED Talk. This is that idea. So how do we spark curiosity and really like set the stage for learning? That's the goal with that. You're going to find something that your students in your content area struggle with, and then use at least 5 multimedia learning principles. we'll talk more about that once that assignment comes up. Assignment number two, or case study number two, is called Seeing Isn't Believing. So it's looking at a student-facing resource to develop their media literacy skills. And it's going to address two key challenges, looking at AI-generated visuals and identifying logical fallacies. And so then you're going to find a scenario like students were citing a fake infographic, and then you're going to design a practical response. So the goal of all these is to actually make it usable. So as much as you can actually take a real scenario, despite it being summer, and say, my students always do this thing. This is going to be where you're going to be able to create that resource for it. And that resource can be pretty broad as to what your deliverable is going to be. The third assignment, the third case study is called Teach the Machine. And so with this, there's something called Teachable Machine. It's a platform to build a simple AI model that again solves a classroom need. So you're going to be really looking at classroom workflows and behaviors and figure out like where those sticky points are. And so it's not like I'm going to create a thing that answers questions for my kids, but like what are the patterns? Like what do students get stuck on with this assignment or in this class? And then you're going to create a prototype. You're going to submit that as a PDF and a link to your trained model. Sounds fancy. It's pretty cool. The Teachable Machine platform is really powerful. So if you're like, how do I do that? We'll walk you through it. You've got this. And the fourth one, your final assignment is Partnered Intelligence, where you're going to build a custom chatbot on poe.com, POE, to again find a specific instructional goal or purpose. So you're thinking about this as like a teaching partner. If you had like an assistant or a co-teacher, what would that do? And it's going to help you with your teaching goals, similar to kind of what School AI is developing, but it's a standalone thing. So those are all the assignments. Be sure and just read through the syllabus and our School of Ed policies, and then head over to the week one video and we'll dive into week one. Welcome to the course. Reach out if you have any questions.